So today, guys, I'm excited because we got a first look at the new game coming called Dune Awakening. And this game is absolutely right down my alley. It's an open world survival game set in the Dune universe. Now, this game is expected to come on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and on Steam, so obviously PC. What we're gonna do is, this is a full episode about the game, and then they actually show us a trailer. So let's dive into it and let's see what they had to say. Yo, this game, I'm super hyped for it.
Hello and welcome to the very first Dune Awakening Direct, a brand new series where we'll be taking a look at all things Dune Awakening from our studio here on Arrakis. On this episode, we'll be chatting to Joel Bylos. He's the Chief Creative Officer for Dune Awakening here at Funcom, and he will tell us what players can look forward to this year, and he will share some news about our beta testing phase. Then we'll also be taking a look at the brand new gameplay trailer that we're just so excited to share with you all. But first, we'll look at what it takes to bring the most dangerous planet in the universe to life, from book to film to video game. Let's get started with creating world.
Arrakis is this unrelenting anvil against which people are beaten and shaped and forged into something that's stronger.
There's something very spiritual about that sand, which on the surface is really nothing, but underneath has a really diverse biological backstory.
One of my favorite lines from Frank Herbert is, when you end a novel, it's like a train coming into the station that doesn't stop. You just jam on the brakes and let the sparks fly into people's imagination. Arrakis is a test, is what the Fremen say. And the player comes right into the heart of that test. Dune Awakening is a survival game at the base level. And it begins like a traditional survival game, you know, like you're looking for water, you're looking for shelter. You know, where will you find water in the desert? Will you take it from others? So when we talk about survival, sure, we start with the basic kind of survive. And then when you've survived long enough, it's now time to think about political survival and how you progress within the universe. The approach we take when building a world like Arrakis is we kind of have to think about, where are the stark lines and how do we draw these epic spaces? How do we make them feel huge and the player feels dwarfed by everything they see around them?
The intention was, every time we saw the desert, it was highly brutal, and if you went out into the desert without the right protection and without the right knowledge, that it was sure death. If we looked at references from some of the hottest deserts in the world, the visuals that we saw from those deserts weren't enough. We needed this world to be even harsher.
So we've been working with Legendary since the very beginning. They've been very generous with sharing with us assets from the film and allowing us to see things from the film and allowing us to really understand the vision that Denis Villeneuve has for the world and his characters and the way he's grounding Arrakis. But of course, a game is a much larger scale, so we need to expand upon that vision. We have our own army of concept artists who are sending things back and forth with Legendary all the time. One of my best moments on this project so far, actually, was I got to go and visit the set of the first film with a group of the people from Funcom, the art directors, the lead artists, and we got to walk around in the actual sets that they had built in classic old school set building, massive palaces, and we got to look at the ornithopters from the inside and the outside, right? We got to walk around them and get a sense of their scale.
Well, I think what they had done really well is they'd been quite inspired by the world that we had built in Dune Part 1. Now, in a film, you're sort of led on a journey by the director and by the script, whereas in a game, you have the opportunity to sort of create your own narrative and create your own journey. The most exciting aspect for me is the fact that you can take what you've enjoyed and loved and you can build your own stories and your own places. And that to me is the ultimate goal, is to have, complete control.
Using Unreal 5 to create a game is obviously one of the better choices. Unreal 5 gives us flexibility through the blueprinting system. It allows us to handle amazing graphics through the rendering system, the lighting system such as Lumen. Lumen technology allows proper light bouncing. If I had to say one thing in the game that really benefits from Lumen, it's player crafted spaces. In our case, it's like you build a room and you place a window, and the window lets in natural light, and the light will fill the room in a way that feels real. And that technology hasn't existed before. Before Unreal 5, in the olden days, you had to use what we called the LOD system. And that meant that you had to create assets at different LOD levels, so it doesn't slow down everybody's computer. With Unreal 5, we have this new technology called nanite that breaks things down into the right amount of polygons at the right distance. So for us, as a company, this has made an amazing difference to the visual detail of the world. It allows us to create one really amazing looking cliff piece, for example, and then doesn't matter how far away or how close we place it, it performs well and it looks great.
Where Unreal worked for us on Dune was that it was a fantastic pre-production and planning tool. On Dune Part 2, we had some very complicated scenes, and we were able to previs all the way from Budapest what the light was going to be doing well in advance. It's the only tool that I've used, I would say, in my 25 years of shooting that is able to be used across a wide spectrum of films by different types of filmmakers.
The most iconic creature in the Dune universe is the sandworm of Arrakis. And so we've tried to represent this in the game in multiple ways. So as a player, your first steps on the open sand, you hear the hiss of the sand in the distance as the sandworm begins to move towards you. And when it gets close, you hear the roar as it erupts from the sand nearby. And at that point, you have only seconds to live if you cannot make it to rocky ground. So this is your first experience with sandworms. And these are the little ones. When you go into the deep desert, when you're harvesting spice, the giant ring-mouth sandworms that we've seen in the film will erupt underneath the spice blows and suck harvesters and equipment down into the sand beneath them. There's really only one rule. The sandworm will always come.
Yo, that's pretty crazy.
Humans have always had this innate drive to create something, to build worlds, whether it's in their head, whether it's in text, whether it's on screens, whether it's in games. Funcom as a company has been on this journey for a long time, creating multiplayer worlds where players can live out their dreams and fantasies. We were there in the beginning with massively multiplayer online games. We've been there in the beginning with survival open world crafting games. And Dune is a combination of those legacies, bringing us forward into the future. It's the culmination of what Funcom means as a company and what we can deliver. And this legacy means that we need to really pay attention to what we're creating and how we create it for the fans.
Good.
Because I think at the heart of this, there's a lot of people out there who really want to live in the universe that Frank Herbert created. And they really want to live in the visual world of the films that they see from Villeneuve. And so we need to create the gap between those two possibility spaces and create a game world where people can live out their fantasies that they've taken from Dune. And yes, it's a huge legacy, and it feels at times extremely overwhelming, but we really hope that we can deliver something for everybody.
Man, those outfits that those guys have on are
Wow,
pretty nice.
that was great. Creating captivating visions on the big screen and the immersive world of games, of course, both certainly come with their own unique set of challenges. And I think it's very clear that both mediums draw deeply from the seminal book that started it all. Now, of course, Villeneuve's movies have mesmerized the audiences with their adaptation of Frank Herbert's masterpiece. It's been showcasing the intricate politics, the very stunning visuals, and the harsh desert of Arrakis. And now, as we venture into the game, the challenges of bringing this rich universe to life really takes on new forms. So, here to share this exciting process with us is Joel Biles, the Chief Creative Officer for Dune Awakening. Joel, welcome to the first ever show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's exciting to be here.
I am so excited that you're here because I get to pick your brain. I have so many questions and I want to dive straight into this. Dune Awakening is a survival MMO. Two words everyone watching will be familiar with, but what's your take on that? What is a survival MMO?
Sure. So survival games are obviously a genre of games about like building yourself up from the bottom and surviving. MMOs are more about social interaction and how players work together to achieve big goals. And we thought, why not combine the two? Why don't we create a game? Because most of the survival games that are out there, they kind of, you once you get to a certain point of survival, it kind of ends, and that's kind of where you've gotten to. But what we thought was like, the universe of Dune is a perfect place with these politics and this intrigue and there's machinations that happen. So let's get players hooked on the survival and then bring them into the political survival of the Dune universe.
Let's break it down then and dive a little deeper, starting with the survival part. What are we surviving on Arrakis? What's out there? I mean, worms, yeah, players?
Sandstorms.
What else?
Other players. Yeah, so the player.
Other players?
Obviously, Arrakis is all about the heat and the water. So the player, first of all, needs to be searching for water. They need to stay out of the sun, stay in black shade during the daytime, travel by
Dramatic,
night.
I love it.
That's what the Fremen say, right? That's what the Khitan al-Ghaib says it in the book, right? Black shade by day, travel by night. So the player needs to worry about these things, think about the sunlight, think about where they are, but they also need water because that runs out really quickly without a still suit and you die very fast. So yeah, there's lots of ways in which to get water. You can explore dew fields and eat plant fiber to try and get water out of it. After a while, you start to throw up because you can't really get too much water out of plants that way. And then the way I prefer to do it is to shoot enemies, take their blood, drink that.
You just casually dropped that right there. Okay, so we're harvesting blood or just lick some plants, whichever way you choose. You're going to stay hydrated, which is very important.
Yes.
Yeah, stay hydrated at home, in and out of game.
Are
there other resources I need to worry about?
Yeah, so as a player, I mean, it's a proper survival open world crafting game, right? So players will craft their entire arsenal, right? So they'll be collecting resources, they'll be collecting stone, they'll be collecting metals like copper, iron, eventually forging steel, building up the equipment that they have at home. So they'll be crafting, all their weapons, all of their gear, all of their clothing, and they can of course craft themselves a base to live in, craft machines to help them craft bigger machines, which allow them to craft better weapons and so forth.
All right, so there's a lot to do, is what I'm hearing. Base building you just mentioned, that's obviously very exciting. I saw you guys shared a sneak peek of what a base could look like already on your TikTok channel. Very cozy. Why would I ever leave a home like that and head out into the desert? But I'm sure you guys give us plenty of reasons to do just that. Is there anything special about the base building in this game?
Yeah, so we took what we started with in Conan Exiles, our other survival game. We brought that over. Then we started to add to it, right? So we've now created a system for co-op building where you can place out holograms and other players can fill them in. So you work with your friends to build bases. You can also save your base as like an architectural blueprint that you can then sell to other players on the exchange, or you can give to your friends. So they, if you make something really cool. One of the things we saw in Conan Exiles that I really liked was that players were building the Taj Mahal. They were just building really cool buildings. And it's like, what if you could sell that to another player? That'd be cool, right? So another player might want to be able to just buy that blueprint off you and then place that out in the world and build it themselves. So we're really enabling this sharing and sort of the way the building system works, allowing it to be very cooperative.
That's cool. Incredible. I absolutely love that. Well, I know my story arc is going to be architect who harvests blood occasionally, but you do what you got to do. Now that I have my basic needs all met, I'm staying hydrated in some unkosher ways, and I'm having my base. How do I protect myself and my base from the world? Like, what am I doing for combat here?
So the game has a full leveling system, right? And we do this thing we call combined arms, which is like we have melee, we have ranged, and we have abilities, and we also have vehicles, right? So players can use any combination of these in combat, right? So it's kind of creates this interesting dynamic. So you can learn abilities from the great schools of the universe and learn how to be a Bene Gesserit, compelling your enemies to come close to you so that you can stab them with a knife. And you combine so you're combining melee with abilities there, right? Or you can be a sword master and leap in with a knee charge, knocking people to the ground and then stabbing them. Or you can choose to be like a trooper and you use your Shigawire reel to pull you up like a grappling hook, to pull you to high places where you can shoot down on your enemies with sniper rifles and shotguns. So there's a large variety of weapons that you can craft through our intricate crafting system, in addition to these abilities that you learn as you level up your character. So you kind of have this freedom of choice, and that's really what Combined Arms is all about. It's sandbox combat. That's what we're trying to call it and what we're going for, right?
Are those hard locked in classes, or is there can I explore different skill trees like
Yes.
Can I be a swordsman or a swordsmaster and also use the voice? Is that possible?
It's absolutely possible. You just have to find the right trainer in the world who'll teach you these things. So you choose in character creation, you make a choice of who was your mentor when you were young. And then you choose one of the things, and that determines your set of starting abilities. But then when you play the game, you find trainers in the world. You have to do things for them, but then they'll eventually teach you some of the way, the path that can take you down some of these skills and abilities. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so
Cool.
lots of things to explore there as a player and avenues to take, all in order to protect myself and maybe my friends if I feel like it. What am I protecting? Like, how do I protect myself against sandworms? Like, can I fight them? Can I ride them? Like, what's the deal with them?
Sandworms are like a tension mechanic in the game. We want you to be really worried every time you walk on the sand. So you really need to think about what you're doing. So there is no way to kill or defeat sandworms.
No,
the only thing you can
cannot.
do, you just cannot. The only thing you can do is avoid the sandworms, right? So you craft yourself a thumper and place it out to distract a sandworm. Maybe you use it to lure a sandworm onto some friends of yours or some
Friends,
depending on how
as
you
one
feel.
does.
And the other thing you can do, of course, is craft yourself a vehicle. Like we have a range of vehicles in the game, including the iconic ornithopters, and players will be able to craft these, and you'll be able to use these to, of course, traverse safely, right? If you're in an ornithopter, you fly above. If you're on a sand bike or something like that, you can move quickly across the sand. Hopefully a sandworm won't get you if you time it right.
Hopefully.
Hopefully,
That's always hoping. I love a constant looming threat. Sounds really stressful. Sounds perfect, actually, for a survival MMO. Now, you already alluded to some of the cooperative things one can do in-game. Can you elaborate a little bit more here or dive deeper into this? Like,
Sure.
Can I, fully go on a journey with someone and do tasks with each other? Like, what can I do with other people?
Yeah, so I mean, hook up with your friends, join together with a
Okay.
grouping system. We have a ping system, so you can, obviously point out things to players.
Nice.
You will find different roles that you can assume based on the kind of combination of abilities you want to bring with you. And then you can heal your friends, of course, get them up when they get knocked down in combat, things like that. And then, of course, you go on journeys like we have a system called the journey system. You can go on those journeys together and sort of explore the mystique of the universe. Through that, we also have a contract system. When you go to trade posts, you'll be able to take contracts. Your friend and you can go out and explore and do these contracts together. We have small group play, we have guild play. It's all kind of what you'd expect to see in a social experience.
Guild play too, that's cool.
What's your take on the politics? Because obviously the books and the movies, that's a big part of it, like the whole political intrigue. How predominant is that in the game?
I mean, we want players to be able to dip into it. So you start the game kind of lost in the desert, right? And then by the end of the game, maybe you're the next Baron Harkonnen. So as you play through the game,
And who doesn't want to be him?
he's a good-looking man.
Oh yeah. Mm.
As you make your way through the game, you progress and you sort of meet these factions in the world, right? The Atreides and the Harkonnen are at war. There's a war of assassins going on, as it's called. And as a player, you decide which side you want to help, which side you want to join. Then you start to partake in missions for those factions. And eventually, you work your way up through the ranks of the factions, and maybe you take on a position of power as well. So the politics are, they're designed to actually encourage players to develop their own politics around the sandbox systems, right? So we have this Landsrad. The Landsrad will demand that players do certain things. The factions need to work together or against each other to achieve these goals, right? So there's also this sandbox element to the politics.
Which also then encourages co-op play or PvP play more.
Co-op play or PvP play, yeah. Yeah, there's this this kind of idea that, when people have the same objective, but they're on opposite sides, it becomes a race between them to achieve that objective, and they'll do all sorts of dirty things to get to the top, right?
Sounds about right. Can I opt out of politics? Can I just live my peaceful little Swiss life in my cottage?
Absolutely. You can play however you want. I mean, the idea is to be a sandbox and allow people to approach it how they like. We have one of the rules, one of the pillars of the game is expression and customization. And that's not just about visuals, it's customizing how you want to play the game. So it's really thinking about I really like to craft and just set up my little crafting setup and sell things on the exchange to other players. So you can do that. You can basically live your life as a crafter. You can also be an architect, as we talked about. You can be a pilot, a scout. You're not really heavily involved in the fighting, but you go out and you craft maps that you sell to other players as well of the world.
Where are we currently at? I know there have been betas already. How many more of those are coming? When is the next one? What's the status of development? Where are we at?
So yeah, we've been running betas now for several months. They've been going really well. We're slowly inviting more people over time. So the game, yeah, I mean, we're not going to rush it out the door. We're going to work with our community and our players, and we're going to try and make the game as good as it possibly can be.
Takes as long as it takes, man.
It takes as long as it takes, and you got to do it well. So yeah, so we're working with our community, and yeah, betas are continuing, right, all the way through launch, and we're going to keep increasing the number of people in those betas, helping us stress test, yelling at us because they get eaten by sandworms, all those kind of good things.
All the good stuff. Speaking of good stuff,
Those
have there been
sandworms are
any
worrying
like
me.
recent milestones you're particularly excited about, or anything you want to share about the current development?
Sure. There's a thing as a creative director I like to say that we get a few aces. Every time we make a project, we get to make a few creative bets. There's a thing called the shifting sands, which is one of my most exciting, one of the things that makes me most excited about the game, and that is this location in the world. It's a full PvP area, and every week the
PvP
Coriolis
too.
storm sweeps in and completely alters the landscape of this area. And I got to see that working for the first time very recently with full landscape changing and people able to play, and it's exciting to see these things coming online. And I think it's something people haven't seen before in a game. So I'm excited to let the audience in
I'm
on it,
excited.
I can't wait to be part of that audience, and I also can't wait to have more opportunities in the future to chat about the development and the process that you and the team are going through. Now, any last words, anything you want to say to your future player base?
Yes, thank you everybody for joining us on this journey. I hope today's show was like your first taste of spice, mildly euphoric, slightly addictive, and leaving you wanting more.
I
wanting
certainly
more.
want more of that now. I'm pretty sure everyone watching as well, so remember, for a chance to get an invitation to any of the future closed beta tests, head on over to DuneAwakening.com and sign up for the beta. Then head on over to
Nice.
Steam and wishlist the game. You can also join our Discord and follow our other socials at Dune Awakening. Also, of course, you can keep up to date on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, where we will be showcasing regular sneak peeks into the world of Dune Awakening.
This looks
Now,
so cool.
here is the moment that I'm pretty sure everyone has been waiting for. Let's take a look at our brand new gameplay trailer for Dune Awakening.
Capture views in
Arrakis is a
Unreal
test.
frequency range.
Few survive it.
I'm ready. Oh, that's his base. That looks cool. Yeah, the vehicle. Are they climbing that wall? Bro, that base is massive. Is it the PvP arena?
Arrakis is a test. Few survive it. But the humans that do awaken.
Dune Awakening. So if you see right here, it says Steam, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. Now you can't wish list it, but that's obviously for Steam, and I think the beta is only for Steam too.
Wow, Arrakis is truly the most dangerous planet in the universe. And you know what? I can't wait to go there. Now, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned and join us on the next Dune Awakening Direct.
And that's gonna wrap that up there. Guys, this game came out of nowhere for me. I'm very excited for it. I gotta know in the comments, what do you guys think about it? Is it something that you think you can play? Having PvE areas, having PvP areas, I think it's great for a survival MMO. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Hey, Nothing But Skills out. Take it easy.